Okay, now we are going to visualize the neuropathy and neuropathic ulcer. Neuropathy and neuropathic ulcer. Now, neuropathy. Neuropathy, as the name implies, is any pathology of the nerve. Now, you need to know that when they are speaking about pathology of the nerve, you need to know that you have to know the anatomy of the nerve. At the first instance, you are going to first have the spinal cord. Is it clear? You first have the spinal cord. Spinal cord divided into the gray matter and then the white matter. The spinal cord has the dorsal root, which is made up of the dorsal root ganglion, and then it has the dorsal root ganglion as such, and then it has a ventral root, which is going to make up of the motor nerve. The dorsal root is made up of the sensory nerve that have their axons in dorsal, that have their nuclei in the dorsal root ganglion. The spinal cord is made up of the interneurons, and then the motor nerves are made up of their multi-dendrite neurons. Is it clear? So this one are bipolar, this one are unipolar here. So these are multi-dendrite, multipolar. So now you need to know that both the posterior horn and the anterior horn are going to occur to connect together. Is it clear? And they're going to produce that. Now you need to know that generally this is the diagram, a small diagram on the spinal cord and how the neurons are going to be produced. Now you need to know that the nervous system has to be divided in order for you to best understand the neuropathy. You need to know that the nervous system is divided into two. Nervous system is going to be divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is divided into the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is divided into the autonomic nervous system and the somatic or the voluntary nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, while the somatic nervous system is divided into the motor and the sensory. So this is a fundamental division of the nervous system. When you have this division, you need to know that generally the peripheral nervous system is going to be divided as such, but that is divided as such functionally, but anatomically they are being supplied to the different structures of the body via two things. One is via the cranial nerves, and two is via the spinal nerves. Is it clear? It can be divided, it can be transferred to the different body organ by the cranial nerve, the spinal nerves, and also three, you have the splanchnic nerve. Now, for the splanchnic nerve, it's only going to be understood by people that have done a good anatomy of the abdomen. Is it clear? So those are the anatomic structure. Functionally, the nervous system is divided as such. Is it clear? Now, this particularly peripheral nervous system, but anatomically, how does this enter into the different structures? It needs to enter into the structure by the cranial nerve, the spinal nerve, and also the splanchnic nerves. Is it clear? So those are the three major nerve elements that are going to supply the different part of the body via the peripheral nervous system. Now you need to know that in the case of when we are going to deal in the topic of neuropathy, there are different neuropathies that we're going to speak about. The neuropathies that we're going to speak about is mostly going to involve nerves. Is it clear? A neuropathy is a pathology of a nerve. So we are not going to speak about pathology of the brain, nor pathology of the spinal cord here. No, we're not going to speak about the pathology of the brain and the spinal cord. We're just going to speak about pathology of the nerves. And the pathology of the nerves it can either be a pathology of the cranial nerve, it can be pathology of the spinal nerve, It can be a pathology of the splanchnic nerves. Is it clear? Now, still under anatomy, is it clear? Directly after this is going to produce a neuron, but this is first a spinal nerve. You need to know that what a neuron is a combination on anatomy. The spinal nerve comes from one particular segment of the spinal cord, but a neuron, a nerve that supply a muscle, is going to be made up of combination of spinal nerve roots. Is it clear? So that is how you have to understand. The pathology of a nerve is not just going to be, is going to be divided into different portions. Is it clear? Pathology of the nerves. This is the division of the pathology of the nerve. Pathology of the nerve is going to be divided into anatomy, anatomic pathologies, and physiologic pathologies. Is it clear? Now, anatomically, pathology is going to be divided into one, the spinal or root pathologies. So we have the nerve bulk pathologies. Is it clear? You have spinal root pathology and we have the nerve bulk pathology. Anatomically, this spinal root pathology is any problem which is close to the vertebral column. Why this nerve bulk pathology is any problem that is further away from the vertebral column. Now, physiologically, is it clear? Physiologically, what are the elements, the pathologies that we have in neuropathy? We have a pathology affecting the autonomic nervous system, which is called the autonomic neuropathy. Is it clear? Autonomic neuropathy. We have pathologies of the somatic nervous system. Now, pathology of somatic nervous system is going to be called the somatic neuropathy. Is it clear? Now, that somatic neuropathy can be divided into two again. We have a sensory neuropathy and we have also a motor neuropathy. Similarly, the autonomic neuropathy can be divided into two. We have parasympathetic nervous system neuropathy and we have sympathetic nervous system neuropathy. Is it clear? So that is the definition of the neuropathy. And now, in a later tutorial, we're going to know now the pathogenesis, the mechanism, the pathophysiology, the clinical presentation, and then the diagnosis with the management. Is it clear? So now we can continue now with the next part, which is the mechanism.